Hello everyone, my name is Nathan Chi, and today I'm super excited to be presenting the Contextual Ad Engine demo built here by our team at TwelveLabs. And so what this application is at a very high level is to show how powerful it is to be integrating these TwelveLabs foundational video understanding models into the ad tech space. And how we showcase this is by really trying to target the contextual ad gap. And so we utilize TwelveLabs' models Pegasus and Marengo to not only understand the ad content, but understand the video content provided by suppliers, and then correlate that with user metadata utilizing vector embeddings and a deterministic approach to get basically scene level ad injections to make ads super personalized for the ad tech industry. And so we'll be covering a lot of the different features and capabilities that you can do when integrating TwelveLabs into any ad tech platform. But more specifically, we'll be covering our latest model, Pegasus 1.5, and how we've essentially combined scene classification so that it can understand specific scenes within your ad and video content and match it exactly one-to-one with IAB taxonomies, both for ad content and just general supplier side content. We'll also be going over how we can leverage Marengo vector embeddings to have cosine similarity and k-nearest neighbor search to not only match up ads with correct users, but match up ads with correct scenes within larger pieces of content. You can think of this as like 1 hour long shows, movies, etc. And then we'll be going over a little bit about the logic of how we actually determined whether or not an ad was a good scene fit and a good user fit. So it's a two-stage pipeline where we match the ad to each user and we match each ad again to each specific scene in a larger piece of video content. And lastly, we'll talk about how this application can correlate to your business needs. Specifically, this platform connects directly with a Databricks Delta lake. So any data generated here by TwelveLabs can actually be extracted and used towards data analytics, metadata generation, or really any solution you need for your advertisement tech platform. And so great. So before I get started, just a key thing to note is that all of the code is open source here. You can see not only all the code here, but you can also see the live demo application, as well as a full screen architecture of sort of how the two-stage pipeline works in terms of matching each ad to each user and then to each scene, and the different TwelveLabs models it uses to generate a very personalized and accurate ad placement depending on different user profiles. And so without further ado, I'll go ahead and start by loading in the ad inventory. So here we have 4 different very broad ad categories, including snacks, financial services, automotive, and alcohol. And so just really quick, we can click on the alcohol one. You can see we have a variety of ads.
You know, I drink bourbon. I've drank it for a very long time.
And so we can go ahead and click on one of them. This is going to be a Grey Goose ad. And so all of this data you see here up at the top is actually generated by TwelveLabs, including some of the targeting and suitability rules. So everything with the star here was actually generated by TwelveLabs Pegasus, which is our video to text model essentially. And we can see that based off of this ad, that it found that the target context of where to place this ad is going to be in a beach setting, sunny sky, things like that. And target audience affinities will be luxury, spirits, adults. Target demographics is going to be adults because it is alcohol, and people with higher household income. So TwelveLabs very quickly, as you saw, in almost under a couple of seconds, extracted all of this very useful metadata on where to place your ad. And not only that, it actually identified the exact IAB taxonomy that this ad is likely correlated with, and that is going to be ID 211. And you can see some of the metadata it generated down here. But it says the tier 1 classification, which is the broad tier classification, is food and drink, while the tier 2 is alcoholic beverages. And it also generated a freewheel payload JSON as well as an open RTB map to view JSON, which you can export to your platforms. And with all this data, not only did it generate this metadata, so that's sort of phase one. 12labs Pegasus goes in, understands your ad content, and generates all this useful metadata. But then it also matches it with users. So you can see simulate viewer affinity. So these are fake user profiles created just for the purposes of this demo application, but you can imagine it can be extracted into real users as well. And we can see some info on this fake user, Ethan. He's from New York. He's a male in his 30s in an urban household, has a high household income. So, and also more importantly, he has a affinity towards alcohol. And so as you can imagine, this ad suits Ethan pretty well. And you can see that it's reflected in this match score with 97. You can see some of the scoring notes that both the LLM generated, but also was generated in a deterministic fashion. You can of course look into the code. I won't dive too much into exactly how this is done, but it's really through things like keyword matching, hard-coded rules for household income, age, etc., to come up with a reproducible score every time without fully relying on LLM capabilities, so that you can consistently have the same match score for user to ads. And now we can see someone like Sarah, who also has a high household income but isn't quite into alcohol, like Ethan. She likes home improvement, fitness, and wellness. So this ad, although good in some case because she matches the demographic, she isn't really too into alcohol, so she gets 0 there, but she does match the demographic pretty well. Hence, she gets a match score of 60. And if we go to Nathan, he's a male, 19, and so this is already blocked because it's under 21. So this is sort of showcasing the deterministic approach here. And so with this ad score, and before I move on, I just want to highlight all the metadata can be viewed in this table here. And not only that, it can be exported in an IAB bundle. And you can actually search up for specific moments within your ad database using 12labs foundational models. So we searched up close-up product shots.
Creates a cool, refreshing gen.
Was covered as a label would be, and I think we accomplished.
Cool. And so now that we have this user to ad match score, we can now put this in a broader picture for actually placing it in long-form video content like this one. And so this is a 45-minute show of some sort of love drama show, not exactly too sure what it is, but we can see here that according to our configs here, which there's 3 built-in configs, there's revenue maxing, which sort of disregards if it breaks the user's viewing experience. There's a balance mode, and there's a strict mode, which tries to keep the viewer basically watching the video for as long as possible, and takes into consideration things like unsafe ad placement and break scores. And so you can of course play around with this more in the platform. There's a lot of different configurations. You can play around with the max ad breaks. You can see that the ad breaks are highlighted by these green dots, and as I change it, there's more and more ad breaks, min spacing, things like that. But at a very high level, what this is doing is Pegasus 1.5 is going in and breaking down each scene. And so for each scene, it ranks the emotional profile, the brand safety. So is this a scene where you want to place any company brand near it? If it's like something very emotional, or if there's things like drugs, alcohol, things like that involved, you likely don't want an ad placed near it. And so here it detects those flags. And for the first intro, it says it's a very safe, brand safety wise, to actually place an ad. There's ad suitability as well as ad break fitness. So it takes into account what is actually happening in the scene, and is it a good time to place the ad. So it rates it by an interruption risk. And so this is a very key point of actually utilizing 12labs for your ad tech solutions, because typical ad tech solutions at best have things like metadata, keywords, maybe even this score, but they don't go exactly that in depth onto break reasoning, and don't have this deep, rich understanding of what's actually happening scene by scene. And so the reason for that is um, obviously because it takes a long time for a human auditor to go in and sort of find out all this information. But with Pegasus 1.5, you can see it does it in mere seconds. And so now we can scroll down here and see some of the top ads it recommends for Ethan. And you can, of course, go ahead and change the user profile. It'll automatically update the ads. You can see all of the alcohol ads have been disqualified for Nathan as he was underage. But you can see here how it sort of places the ads onto the longer form video content now. So it not only takes into account that user to ad match score that we previously calculated, but now it also calculates a very important metric that is typically very hard to determine unless you have a large team of human auditors, and that is scene fit. So it takes into account a vector match of how similar the ad is to the actual scene so that it flows almost seamlessly as the user is watching to reduce the chance that they click off the video. It considers things like tone, environment, and category. And so these three are determined deterministically by matching up keywords, while this one is leveraging Marengo's, TwelveLab Marengo's vector embeddings to finally come up with the best placement score. And so you can see if we click on these other ones, it determines different ads for different times. And so you can, of course, play around with the platform a lot more to see exactly how all this logic works. You can look into the code as well. But you could imagine how powerful this is to have, instead of just matching up keywords, but actually having a model like TwelveLabs that understands specific scenes and videos and is able to do this sort of matching logic, how powerful it can be for contextual ad placement and to have more impactful and higher converting ads. And so lastly, once you're happy with this configuration, you can go ahead and click Generate Video. It will go ahead and actually place the ads, and you can preview them when you click on each ad break. So for example,
and today's just even exaggerated that even more.
2 ingredients, Captain and Cola.
I want to win this. I want Tim at the end.
yeah, so you can see that all these ads are not only personalized towards Ethan. If you remember his metadata, his user metadata was about liking alcohol, high household income, but you can also see how well it actually places ads based off of the scene content. So not exactly just the old typical keyword matching, but that Grey Goose advertisement where there was a beach setting, it perfectly matched it to this scene where there was sort of an outdoor boat beach setting as well. And so yeah, you can of course download the generated ad plan. It'll give you a full JSON of all the ad placements so that it can easily be implemented into any streaming software. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this walkthrough. Again, there's code snippets here of some of the key components of how this application was built on the technical side. And there's also going to be a full GitHub if you would like to clone the repository, deploy it on your own local environment, test things out, change things. Feel free to go ahead and take a look at this. All of those will be linked in the description, and thank you for listening.